Okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just, yeah, I don't know what screen I was on. I couldn't tell if we were live. Okay. So hello, everybody. Hope you're having an amazing Tuesday. So I'm excited because last week I was just kind of brainstorming and scratching my head. Like, I've covered a lot of different classes with you guys over the last month and a half, like financing and remote investing and how to talk to a hard money lender, what questions to ask. And Jennifer's done classes on the BRRR strategy and task management. And I was like, what else could I teach these guys? Like, what's another topic that would be interesting? And so I just threw it out there to you guys, and a lot of people said, yeah, I want to learn that. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is a strategy that I just made up the acronym because it's just like the BRRR, except it's the BRRS, BRRS, right? Buy, renovate, rent, and then sell. Now, this is the passive income real estate group. So in theory, everyone here is about owning rental properties. But here's the reality. When you're an investor, especially if you're trying to make that transition from it's just something you do once in a while to something that you do on more of a full-time basis, or you really start bringing your money in through real estate, it's very helpful to have multiple exit strategies that you can employ so that you have some options. So that's what I want to teach you today, is a strategy that allows you to, it's very similar to the BRRR strategy, except instead of refinancing it at the end and holding it as a rental, you would sell it. So the obvious reason or goal for doing that would be develop like chunks of cash that you can then, well, ideally put into rental property that you can own and hold. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and go through. I need some notes up for you guys, which I'll make available when we're done. Here we go. I think it's here. Okay. All right, so buy, rehab, rent, and sell. High-level considerations. And let me pull up, I'm going to attempt for this time to see if I can find our live. No, I don't even see it in our group. On our phones, that way I could look at comments that are coming and answer them, but alas, okay, that is not meant to be for today, so forget that. All right, so let's just go into it. And then when I see comments later in the group, I will come back and answer them. All right, so just some high-level considerations. All right, exit strategy. So for those of you who do not know what exit strategy means, it just simply means, what is the whole point of doing the deal? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you looking to gain from it? So in this particular case, the exit strategy we're talking about is the sale of the property. It's kind of like with regular fix and flip. The exit strategy is to buy it, renovate it, and sell it to a homeowner. In this case, the exit strategy is to buy it, renovate it, get it rented, and sell it to an investor as a performing cash flow property. Okay, so that's the exit strategy. It's like, what's your end game here? Or like with the BRRR strategy, your exit strategy is the refinance. It's to hold it as a rental, refinance, and pull your cash back out if your numbers work for that. All right, so one of the things that's somewhat unique about this strategy is that you actually have options. Whereas if you're doing a regular fix and flip and you're buying a single family home and you're totally renovating it to the nines, it's gonna look amazing, and then you decide to rent it out after that, it's not that you can't do it, but the numbers don't typically work, because in a rental property, we're not usually, gutting the kitchens and bathrooms and doing granite countertops and stainless steel appliances and new flooring and new paint and new everything. It depends. It depends on what the property needs, but we're not trying to do like high-end in rentals. Typically, we want it to be clean, safe, functional. We want it to look nice. But when you're doing a fix and flip in the retail segment, it's got to be really, really nice. Okay, so that usually doesn't lend itself very well to just changing your mind and changing the exit strategy. All right, so, but with this one, you could, in theory, change your exit strategy. You could decide, hey, actually, I wonder if it's distracting if I have all that information on the page. Hey, I wonder if, at the end of it, if you're like, well, I kind of just want to keep it. Well, you ran the numbers as a rental to begin with, so you could, all right? So the same thing is, if you go into the BRRR strategy planning to refinance it and you want to sell it at the end, that is also something that you could do. All right, so the next thing I want to just talk about for a minute with you guys is if you are doing this in an LLC, you want to be careful. So let's say, for example, that your plan was to do the BRRR strategy and then you're switching to sell it. If you are doing this with the BRRR strategy in an LLC that you purchased or that you put the property in for the purpose of holding, and let's say you have other properties in that LLC, if you sell the property out of that LLC, you are running the risk of being a dealer. So, and not, chances are it's not going to happen on one, but you want to make sure that your LLCs are clean. So if you're going into it and you're not really sure whether you're going to keep it or sell it, in my opinion, I am not an attorney, I've just been an investor for 16 years, but in my opinion, you would be better off to get a separate LLC to do the deal within it. And then if you're going to keep it, cool, you can refinance it within that LLC. You could deed it over to another LLC if you want to do that, or you could sell it. Okay, but if you are already holding rental properties in an LLC, you don't want to then use that same LLC to do the BRRS strategy. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense to you guys. All right. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is you want to get properties with comps coming in. All right, and I'm gonna, in this particular class, I'm actually gonna we're gonna go drive around on the internet together. Are you ready? Okay, so we need deal flow. So what is deal flow? Deal flow for us is properties coming in with comps. Now, why do comps matter, right? A lot of new investors think that deal flow is just properties coming in. Well, a property coming in without comps, I mean, it's like giving me a broom without a dustpan. What the hell am I supposed to do with that, right? Sorry, not hell, but what the heck am I supposed to do with that? I need a dustpan. Okay, I need my comps. But here's the reason. With this exit strategy and with the BRRR strategy, you have to know when you're going in what the outcome is going to be when you're going out. Meaning, what is the property going to be worth when you're done renovating it? And if you are going into the deal without that information and that knowledge, that's a situation where new investors realize that I just made a huge mistake and now I'm underwater, or I can't refinance, the numbers don't work. Okay, so it's a very common mistake for new investors to make just because you don't know yet and you don't know what you don't know. So you need to go into the deal knowing what it will be worth when you're done. All right, so that's why we ask for comps. Comps is short for comparables. Comparables is short for comparable sales. So what have other properties that are similar sold for? So, I mean, in the rental world, you could probably go back 6 months without it really being a problem. In the flipping world, I always tell my students, stick to 90 days. But in the rental world, 6 months is okay. And ideally within a half mile. So you want properties that are close in proximity, similar in size, similar bedrooms and bathrooms, similar in year built, close in proximity, and that sold somewhat recently. Okay, that's kind of what drives, that's going to help you best predict the future value of the property. All right, so how do we get deal flow coming in? There's a couple different ways. And actually, this just reminds me, I have someone that I'm going to be interviewing sometime in the next few weeks. He and I need to connect and set up a time, but he has a whole Facebook group on how to basically get lead generation for people who are trying to sell their properties, like motivated sellers, through using Facebook groups. I met him at a mastermind recently and I was like, wow, I literally just never stop learning. There's just this industry of real estate investing. It's like you can literally spend a lifetime doing new strategies, mastering and doing new, and not run out. So anyway, I'm going to be interviewing him in our group at some point in February. So I'll be excited for you guys. But anyway, what I'm going to focus on today is just talking about the obvious one for people is realtors, right? You call realtors in the market and you let them know what you're looking for. And you ask them to send you properties with comps. Right? But what I wanted to show you guys is just another way to find potential fixers. So most of you probably have heard of Craigslist. So we're going to go to Craigslist. And I'm just going to show you around. So let's say you pick, any market USA. So I just randomly picked Oklahoma City. This does not mean that I am suggesting Oklahoma City. I don't actually know anything about it as a rental market. I just picked one at random to show you guys. Okay, so let's say Oklahoma City. So what I'm looking for is if you go to housing, so it's right in the middle, and then go down to real estate for sale and click on that. All right, and then up here in the search bar, if you type in fixer, you're just going to see what things come up. Okay, here's someone looking for fixer-uppers. Here's a fixer-upper in Yukon, price reduced, quick fixer, fixer-upper, right? So these are potential leads. So let's say I'm looking at this one and go, okay, yeah, that looks like I could use some fixing up. Has some information, great fix and flip or rental property, tenants in place, they can stay or move out, blah, blah, blah. It gives you information. All right, and then you can click there and that will show the contact information so that you can contact the seller and get more information about the property. Okay, so this is another way to create deal flow. Okay, so then you have their phone number. All right, so that's a Craigslist thing that I wanted to show you guys. All right, we already talked about that. Okay, so one thing I want to talk to you, stop the share for a second. So one thing I want to talk to you guys about is when you're running your numbers for the BRRS strategy, you got to look at it from two different standpoints. Like, so if you think about like, who is your end buyer? Your end buyer is not a homeowner. They're not looking to move in. They're not looking at, oh, what is the color of the flooring and the carpet and the paint or whatever, right? What they're looking at is, how do the numbers work? So that means that you, as the person buying the property, if you know that you ultimately want to sell the property to another investor, you have to look at the deal as if it's already done and say, okay, so if I was going to sell it at this price at the end and it was going to rent for this much and these are the expenses, is that a deal that a buyer is going to be interested in? Okay, so if you run your numbers and you see at the end that it's negative cash flow, well, that's obviously not going to work very well. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to begin with the end in mind. So you begin with, what is the after rehab value? What can you sell the property for? And just do a rental analysis, the rents minus expenses. And I've already done a financial, running the number, I can't think of it called, like a financial analysis masterclass. So if you didn't see that yet and you want that, you can comment in the comments, you know, can I get a copy of the financial masterclass, and I'll get that over to you in Messenger. All right, so you have that, but you basically want to run those numbers to make sure that the deal makes sense for the next buyer. The other thing you want to make sure is that the amount that you can sell it for to that buyer compared to your all in. So your purchase, your rehab, your holding costs, which are your utilities, property taxes, insurance, and then your financing costs. You want to make sure that your all in is far enough away from what they would buy it for to make that difference worth it. So, and everybody's different. You know, for me, if I'm doing an investor flip, I'm going to shoot to make $10,000 and not less. It's just not worth my time to do that. Even 10,000, I'm like, but you know, it's a strategy that's fairly simple. Once you get a team in place, you could do it over and over and over and drive a lot of volume. So I don't have to make a ton of money on each deal if I'm doing a lot of volume. You know, but there might be someone who it's their first deal and they're like, hey, if I could make 5,000, that'd be great. Okay, so it just depends on where you're at. And there's nothing wrong with it if you say, it's frankly not worth it to me unless I'm making at least 20,000. Okay, there is no right or wrong. It's up to you. What I would say is if you're new, you don't want to make the numbers too tight, because one of the things that is just the true about real estate is you never know when the unexpected is going to arrive. And so you want to make sure there's enough room in there to handle the unexpected and still make sure that you're getting a profit. And not that profit is the only benefit of doing the deal. You also have the experience that you're getting, you know, making a nice home in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is this is not philanthropy and it's not a hobby. Like, we're doing this as a business. So you want to make sure that the profit is worth doing. So I would have, at a minimum, go in with the expectation of running your numbers with a $10,000 profit. And hey, if a couple things end up not exactly panning out and it ends up being, you know, 6,000 or 7,000, you know, at least you're still making a profit, as opposed to going in with a $5,000 spread at the end. A little tight. All right. So I want to show you guys next. All right, so next thing I want to show you is about when you're selling the property, okay? So when you're going to sell the renovated property, you can do a couple things. One, you can list it with a realtor. And if you do that, you just need to make sure that you build in those costs into your analysis. All right, but another thing I want to show you is you could build a buyer's list. And frankly, that's really going to give you a lot of power. And sometimes you could run it both ways. You could list it with your realtor and have them represent you if you find a buyer, you know, or you could just go with a buyer's list. So I just kind of want to walk you through like what that looks like and how to build a buyer's list. So if you guys want to do that, you can. All right, so you can post an ad on Craigslist for a renovated home. So let's say Craigslist. I'll just show you like where you click. So you're in Craigslist, you create a posting. And sometimes Craigslist is different market by market. So just know that in some markets, the things you click might be slightly different, but overall it should be similar enough that you could follow this model and figure it out. Okay, so we would go to housing offered. So I originally thought, oh, for sale by owner, but it's not. That's for sale by owner for like antiques and cars and things like that. So we would do housing offered, and then you have to pick a category. We would say real estate by owner, and then continue. Okay, and then you could put a posting title, the city, neighborhood, the code. You put a description of the property. You have all the information, the price, the square feet, the housing type, when it's available, your email address. And then when you go to the next page, it won't let me go there because I haven't filled this stuff in. When you go to the next page, then you can put pictures. Okay, you can put pictures in there. So that way the people can see what it looks like. And obviously, well, I've mentioned this before, but one thing I always suggest you do is invest in a professional photographer for any kind of property you do, whether it be rental or flip. Because like one thing about my rentals is I very rarely have more than a week that a rental is not full. And it's because like as soon as I know someone's moving out, we'll start advertising. But I use my original pictures from when it was newly renovated to get people's attention. And the thing is, the reality is it might not look like that right now because there's a tenant still in there. But as soon as the tenant moves out and we turn it back over, it's going to look like that again. But the fact that I made that investment in the beginning on professional photographs is what keeps people interested in coming back. Because once I post an ad on Zillow one time, I just take it off and it's no longer active. When I'm ready to reactivate it, I just click reactivate. I update the available date, update the rent amount if I've changed it. And all those pictures and everything are already there. So it's like a really good investment in my opinion. All right. So you would post an ad on Craigslist. So what happens if you don't actually have a house? So in the beginning, if you're building a buyer's list while you're doing this, which would be very smart for you to do, by the way, you're going to have to come up with a property. So I wanted to show you a little trick. All right, so let's go to, because what you're going to do, you're basically going to have to come up with a fake property, right? Now, if you ended up getting a property from someone else, let's say you said you were interested in a property, they sent you stuff, make sure it's a different market so don't recognize it, but you can go to a different market and use those same pictures there. But if you don't have that, there's a website called Redfin. So let me show you this real quick. Redfin.com, REDFIN.com. And let's say we put in the city name. Let's say we'll do Oklahoma City. All right, I got to move my face out of the way here. Okay, so over on the right side, so once you hit that, it's gonna, what it defaults to, Redfin shows you everything that's available for sale in the market. That's the default. If you come over here to more filters and you click on that, and then you scroll like all the way down to the bottom, you see a place for keywords, right? So I would put in the word renovated. And then it gives me all these different properties. So I clicked on one of them just to save time. I already clicked there and brought it up. And these are the pictures of the property. So I was looking through, I'm like, okay, well, let me see. Is it actually renovated? Oh, yes, it is renovated. Now this is probably a fix and flip, but it's a renovated property. So you could look through and find something that you feel is going to be relatively representative of what you would put back on the market. And you could use those pictures. So you just download them. You just click on the picture, you right click and do save image as, and you can create a folder, save a bunch of them, and then create a folder of pictures. So one thing I want to show you is, now I have a contact where I have my rental properties in Indianapolis, and I have a contact there who we've done some business on. He's a contractor, and he replaced one of my roofs recently, and then worked on this property that had like these mystery issues. But one of the things that came up in conversation is that he buys fixer-uppers. He's a GC. He has his own GC crew. He fixes up and he sells them as performing cash flow properties, which is exactly what I'm talking about doing with you guys. So I just asked him last week, hey, do you have one? After I basically posted saying, hey, are you guys interested in learning this strategy? And I asked him, hey, do you have any for sale? And he did. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the information that he sent me. I put it into my own Google Drive. He sent it via email. Personally, I think it's easier if you have it in Google Drive, you create a folder, and you could share the folder with your interested buyers, and all the information's in one place instead of them having to to download each thing. All right, so I'm in my Google Drive. All right, so he gave a market overview. So he was talking about Indianapolis as a market. This is just some of the stuff about their company. This was very interesting. This was a screenshot of the website Rentometer, and that's a website that you can subscribe to that will give you rents in the area, okay, so that you have something to base what your rental income is going to be on. All right, and then he sent me some pictures. All right, so I can go through the pictures and go, oh, okay, yeah, it looks like he did a nice job. Okay, so this, you're seeing it from the seller standpoint. So someone who's selling a property that's already been renovated. And then the other thing that he included, which I thought was great, was a pro forma. Now, a pro forma financial statement is basically a financial statement that says, this is what it would look like as if. All right, open it with Google Sheets. Okay, So, all right, so in this particular case, it's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, $65,000. Like, and I live in San Diego, so what does that even mean? $65,000? Are you kidding me right now? That's amazing, right? The rents are $800. Now, this particular case, this is not exactly the BRRS strategy, because the BRRS strategy would mean that there's already a tenant in place. So he didn't take it all the way to that level. He just said, hey, if you want to rent it, it should get about $800 a month. And he showed a screenshot kind of supporting that. And then he put down like, what are the property taxes, the insurance, the property management, maintenance as a projection, and kind of what some of those numbers look like, right? So he did this pro forma financial statement so that the next buyer has an idea going in of what the numbers would look like. And that's a smart thing to do as well. Okay, so as you're building out your buyers list in Craigslist and people are interested, so let me back up a little bit. Stop share, be present with you guys. Okay, so this is the way it typically works. So if you are if you're new and you're just going to start doing the BRRS strategy, right? And let's say you bought a property and it's being renovated and you want to start building a buyer's list now, and you go to Redfin and you find a property and you take some pictures and you make a post and you project kind of what the numbers look like in the post. As people contact you, the way you need to run it, and I don't love this part, but the reality is when you're new, you guys got to do what you got to do. But the way I would frame that is, look, that particular property is not available anymore at this time, which that's technically true because it never was, but that particular property isn't available anymore at this time, but we do have another one coming, or we're always working on more. Would you like us to get back in contact with you as soon as we have another one? And I mean, they're pretty much always going to say yes. And that's how you start building your buyer's list. And take some time to get to know the buyer. Like, what's important to them? Is there anything else they're interested in? Like, what if they say, well, I'm also interested in fixers? Well, what if you end up getting a fixer under contract that you can then wholesale to them? All right, so building a buyer's list can be a really valuable thing for you to do, to have people to sell your properties to, and to find out kind of what their interest is, and to make more money in your business. All right, let me look real quick. Okay, let me give you the sample property. All right, that was really the main thing. So, okay, so high level points: to buy it, renovate it, rent it. So in this particular case, you would want to get a property manager involved. You would want to get it rented, because most landlords that are going to buy a performing cash flow property don't want to guess how much the rent's going to be. If you already have a tenant in place and you have a lease in place, that gives them a sense of comfort that it's fine. You already know how much it's renting for. It's a 12-month lease. There's professional management in place. It's like no hassle investing. And if you're operating at a price point like this, where this house is only $65,000, if it's that cheap of that lower price point, a lot of people just within their self-directed IRAs could purchase that property and have their IRA own the property. So that's also another option. So, you getting educated about that. And that is an interview that we do have that I did, back in November in the group. But that's also an interview that I have, that if that would be helpful to you to learn about self-directed IRAs, because the more you know, the better you can help your potential buyers or yourself know what your financing options are. But you can let me know if you want that interview. You can call it like self-directed IRA interview, and I'll send that over to you. It was really, really good. I got to interview the owner of a self-directed IRA company. Anyway, so you just want to make sure that when you have a property that's ready to go, ready to sell, you've done everything that you can to build that buyer's list so it can go more quickly. You having a realtor also sell it, there's some cost to that, but that could also give you a lot of exposure. So anyway, I hope this was helpful to you guys. I enjoy this group. I love our growth, and stay involved, and let's just keep growing it. Let me know what questions you have. I'll check on the live a little bit later, and you guys have an awesome day.